My second question would have to be about the issue of human rights violations supposedly in Sabah. Now, thousands of Filipinos, illegal immigrants in Sabah, are languishing in detention centers in Sabah, Malaysia. I mean, most of them have no access to families, no access to lawyers. There have been allegations of human rights abuses allegedly committed by Malaysian authorities on these Filipinos. And this has been validated by a study that has been done by the Human Rights Commission of the ARMM, in fact, where they've interviewed over 90% of those who have been deported, have also said that they have suffered torture, abuse, and even extrajudicial killings committed allegedly by Malaysian authorities. What efforts have been made, in fact, to address these problems? Is there a possibility that any of the representative from the government will be able to be allowed to have access to these detention centers and really just make all these allegations be cleared out?
If I remember correctly, we have had already access to all of our citizens there, and in fact, even the detained individuals. Let me just try to recall one particular incident. Early on, I just had to recall some of the details. No? There was what was reported in our media, a woman who claimed that her brother, or allegedly, the woman said her brother was killed, allegedly by Malaysian forces. We were able to trace this particular woman. The DSWD, I think, was in principal in finding the woman, who later on, if I remember correctly, she actually didn't see her brother being taken. She in effect retracted everything that was printed in the media. Early on, there was issues about those who were detained, and we were not being allowed to see them. But the last report I do recall was that we had managed to see all of our detained individuals. I get regular updates on the status of cases that have been filed or will be filed against those who went to Sabah and allegedly perpetrated all of the violence there. Now, your portrayal versus the reports that I'm getting seem to be widely disparate, and I will have a review of the same.
Sir, do you mean to say, sir, that you're not convinced that allegations of human rights violations are ongoing there? I mean, we've spoken to those who have been deported. I mean, maybe that's one incident where it was not particularly accurate, but we have, and a lot of media have interviewed those who have been deported, and a lot of them have said they have suffered abuses, and the biggest problem really is access to help and assistance for those who have been detained. In fact, some of them can be detained for as long as 2 years without even having any access to lawyers or any of their families.
Again, the reports that I get, official reports, are in wide, shall we say, disagreement with what you're stating. But you're having asked the question, I'm now curious, and I will have a review of all the steps that have been undertaken, and we'll furnish you the same as a result.
Thank you, sir.
Just a minute. Before it goes way back, I would like to get some clarification, Mr. President, about this arbitration about the conflicting claims in the South China Sea. Does it refer only to Scarborough Shoal, or does it include Mischief Reef? Scarborough lang ba, or does it include Mischief Reef?
I'll have to get back to you. I just want to be very precise, no, with regards to all of the specifications and arbitration. I want to be extremely sure. I'll get back to you on that.
So it's really critical that we get this decision from the arbitration agency.
I guess.
I mean, critical to our claim.
The important thing is that there are conflicting claims, and there has been no mechanism that has been utilized from the time of these conflicting claims from the 70s to resolve the issue. Now we're in a period where tensions are increasing, or we're increasing, and we want to make sure that there is no possibility for the tensions to increase or to be generated again. You want clarity of everybody's entitlements and responsibilities.
Okay, thank you. Melo.
Your Excellency, Melo Acuña from China Radio International. The economy seems to be very robust with the credit ratings we achieved from credit rating agencies. However, the Asian Development Bank, in its press release last October 2, said there are still 7.3 million Filipinos who don't have enough work to make both ends meet, as there are 3 million Filipinos out of jobs. So how do we translate this economic growth to more inclusive growth, Mr. President?
Well, one of the proposals we have, for instance, in the 2014 budget is to expand the CCT program. As you know, the primary condition of the conditional cash transfer program is keep your children in school. The expansion will be as to the same stipend to keep your children in high school. Why are we insisting on this? The idea being that there's a study by the Philippine Institute for Developmental Studies that stated a direct correlation between finishing high school and having a 40% premium on income versus those who just graduated grade school as one of the steps towards inclusive growth. There is a plan also for revitalization, for instance, of agriculture like in the coconut industry. Plant new trees, government assistance will have a condition. The condition being that you intercrop when you government assistance. What is the difference? If you rely primarily on coconuts, your income is pegged at about 20,000 per annum per hectare. If you intercrop with coffee, then it will be about it's over 170, close to 180,000 per hectare per annum. So that is also again another step. We have active partnership between our educational sector and industry. TESDA's Workforce Scholarship Program. If you're familiar, I think, with the figure that roughly about 10% of those who apply with the BPO industry get accepted. TESDA's graduate, I understand, go up to about 70% acceptance rate by the industry. So, and that is the result of closer coordination between what industry needs and the skills that we are providing our people. You have all of these infrastructure projects that enhance tourism. We are targeting if I remember correctly, 5.5 million tourist arrivals or foreign tourist arrivals by this year. We want access to all of our tourist sites that much more efficient and that much more convenient. So you have improvements in various airports as well as the construction of new airports on the line. And the infrastructure programs also, especially, finally we've resolved all of the issues with regard to the connector road between the NLEX and SLEX. There's programs also by DOLE. And again, we are mandating also through CHED the requirement that SUCs become more and more relevant to their institutions. At the end of the day, we believe people are our greatest resource, and all of the investments are geared towards giving them the necessary skills so that they can take advantage of all of the opportunities that are existing already and are forthcoming in the horizon.
Very well, Mr. President. But in 2015, a year before you leave the presidency, there will be this ASEAN community. The reason I asked the question earlier was to find out if we have a fighting chance with the ASEAN community getting into one solid block. So what chances have we as a country and as a people?
Well, I think, let me just point out just one aspect. I think you're aware that a lot of manufacturing has been going on in the country. We look at being one economic bloc. No? For instance, yesterday, I hope the Mexican ambassador will not mind if I say this, but in his courtesy call, when he presented his credentials, he did say that since there are so close ties between Mexico and the Philippines straight going back to the colonial period, then it is but logical for them to see us as the entry point towards the ASEAN region. We have comparative advantages in certain areas. For instance, car manufacturing, truck manufacturing, or assembling better in certain areas within ASEAN, but that doesn't preclude us from participating in terms of producing the necessary parts for all of these vehicles. And there have been significant inroads in that aspect. Can I cite an example, for instance, of a company called BE Aerospace? This is located, the first plant outside of North America and Europe, is in the Philippines, in Batangas in particular. They make the galleys, lavatories, other items within planes, and they have quite, might not be a perfect monopoly, but and seats also is another product. But basically all of the things within commercial airlines are product lines of this company called BE Aerospace. And they are actually, they set up the first plant outside of North America and Europe in the Philippines. The other aspect is the BPO sector, for instance. I was reminded that, I'm sorry, I forget the exact name, but it deals with the issuing of visas and consular matters. Major portion for Asia, I think, if I remember correctly, and I stand corrected, no? Of the UK government is being handled out of Manila already, and other countries are looking as to the efficiencies that can be gained by locating in the Philippines. I can go on and on about the list. Bottom line is, we have, again, advantages that makes us, comparative advantages that enable us to be a good player within this ASEAN community. And the bigger market, redounds to more opportunities for our people and our companies.
Mr. President, this is not putting the cart before the horse, but in a matter of a couple of years, we will have the 2016 elections with all the achievements that you will leave behind. Have you already identified your anointed one for the coming 2016 elections, and what qualities that he should have to continue what you've accomplished?
If I answer your question, I'll just have this guy or girl, have a bullseye painted on his forehead and saying, please attack me for the next almost 3 years. No? So I think I will spare this group of people.
But what qualities have you been looking into?
At the end of the day, I think they will have to address that which has already been asked of me. What will happen after you step down? Then obviously you'd want somebody not just to continue, but perhaps improve on what has already been accomplished. In effect, we're asking them to step up higher, given that they'll be starting at a higher plane.
I see. Did I get it right that you'll get married after you leave the presidency?
If God wills it to happen tomorrow, then I'll gladly do it. But I'm not hoping that it will happen tomorrow.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Good morning, sir. Celerina Monte, Manila Shimbun, Japanese newspaper. Sir, going back to Zamboanga issue, it's almost a month since the government declared that the crisis was over, and we haven't yet heard anything regarding the alleged mastermind of this crisis, Mr. Nur Miswari. Is he still in the country or he already left? And would you push for the bounty?
The latest report is still in the country, in Sulu, and transferring from island to island. We are still exerting efforts to get him into custody at the soonest possible time. I've been on so many activities for ASEAN, for APEC, and also the state visit to Korea, and also Hanging Bohol. I haven't sat down with the issue of reward, but I think now we have since we already have a warrant of arrest, I think that is the last stop, or the last step that we had to accomplish before we issued a bounty or a reward for information leading to the capture of Mr. Miswari.